Hello, I'm Marcia Chan from Mission College, and I welcome you to Advanced Grammar Review and Editing. Today we're going to study relative clauses and adjective phrases from Chapter 10 of Grammar Sense 4. We'll learn about this kind of grammar through a topic called All About Einstein. We'll study the form, meaning, and use of relative clauses, especially the different types of relative clauses, subject and object relative clauses. We'll talk about relative pronouns. Sometimes we can even omit the relative pronoun, so we'll talk about where that can happen. We'll also need to distinguish restrictive and non-restrictive relative clauses. And we'll take a look at some of the lesser used relative pronouns. We'll also discuss form, meaning, and use of adjective phrases. Phrases are not complete clauses with subjects and verbs like relative clauses, but they also modify nouns. We'll look at adjective phrases from clauses with be and adjective phrases from clauses with other verbs. And finally, we'll talk about writing and how you can add details to your writing. Of course, we'll look at ways to edit your writing for correctness in terms of relative clauses. Let's go to part A. We're going to read all about Einstein. You probably know something about Albert Einstein, the famous physicist, right? But you may not know that geniuses such as Einstein may have had difficult personal lives, and sometimes such geniuses may have trouble relating to people.
Exercise A2. Read. Read this article to learn some lesser-known facts about Einstein.
All about Einstein. Many people would argue that Albert Einstein was the greatest thinker of the 20th century. However, it was not only Einstein's incredible intellect that captured the public's imagination, but also his simple, engaging manner. Even more than 50 years after his death, he remains a popular historical figure, proven by the hundreds of books about him that are currently in print, which include several published in the past year alone. Most of us know about Einstein's important contributions to science, but as with any significant historical figure, there were many sides to this outwardly simple yet complex man. Here are some details about his life that you may not know. As a child, Einstein spoke slowly and hesitantly, and his parents worried that he was not very intelligent. Some experts have suggested that he may have spoken slowly because he had a mild personality disorder or a learning disability which affected his speech. We will never know for sure. He is remembered as a child whose interests included playing the violin and listening to classical music, a passion which continued into his adult life. He said, "I often think about music. I daydream about music. I see my life in the form of music." As an adolescent in Munich, Einstein disliked his school, where success was determined by one's ability to memorize facts. He excelled in mathematics and in Latin, which he respected because of its emphasis on logic. Einstein eventually quit school at the age of 15. Einstein was a man whose unsettled private life differed greatly from his focused and balanced consideration of the problems of the universe. He could be a playful man who was easy to talk to and, at the same time, a cool and aloof father. Einstein was married twice. His first marriage ended in a bitter divorce, and he began seeing his cousin, Elsa, whom he eventually married. He had 2 sons from his first marriage. Hans Albert the elder became a professor, while Eduard, who excelled in the arts, died in a psychiatric hospital in Switzerland. Einstein may have been a man of science, but he was also deeply spiritual. He said, "What I see in nature is a magnificent structure that we can comprehend only very imperfectly, and that must fill a thinking person with a feeling of humility."
After you read, continue to think about this article and the purpose of this article. And also, think critically about form. You'll want to look at the highlighted relative clauses in the reading and be able to identify what nouns or noun phrases that the clauses modify. Also, you should recognize that the words that begin relative clauses are called relative pronouns, and you should find the different relative pronouns in these clauses. Then you should analyze, and please do this on a separate piece of paper. Write the clauses under the correct categories on a separate piece of paper. Relative pronoun plus verb, relative pronoun plus subject plus verb. For example, that captured the public's imagination is a relative pronoun, that, plus the verb captured. When you're ready, please come back and view the next video.